Three couples are trying to get married at the same church. There is a young couple, a middle-aged couple, and an elderly couple. The three couples meet with the priest and discuss when they can get married. "If you wish to get married in my church, you must all go 1 month without having sex," says the priest. 1 month later the three couples return to the church and talk to the priest. He then asks the elderly couple, "Have you completed the month with sex?" "Yes, we have, it was easy," replies the elderly couple. "How about you?" he asks the middle-aged couple. "It was hard, but we didn't have sex for the whole month," they respond. "And how about you two?" he asks the young couple. "No, we couldn't do it," responds the boyfriend. "Tell me why," says the priest. "Well, my girlfriend had a can of corn in her hand and she accidentally dropped it. She bent over to pick it up and that's when it happened." The priest then tells them, "You're not welcome in my church." "We're not welcome in the supermarket either," says the boyfriend. Theory does not work. A physicist, an engineer, and a mathematician are all locked in separate burning buildings. The physicist runs to a chalkboard, calculates exactly how much water he will need to put out the fire, runs and finds that amount, puts out the fire, and survives. The engineer pulls out a calculator, calculates exactly how much water he will need to put out the fire, runs and finds 10 times that amount, puts out the fire, and survives. The mathematician runs to a chalkboard, calculates exactly how much water he will need to put out the fire, declares, "There is a solution," and then burns to death. All the idiots in the room, please stand up. "If there are any idiots in the room, will they please stand up," said the sarcastic teacher. After a long silence, one freshman rose to his feet. "Now then, mister, why do you consider yourself an idiot?" inquired the teacher with a sneer. "Well, actually I don't," said the student, "but I hate to see you standing up there all by yourself." I do not want game to be over. A young boy enters a barber shop and the barber whispers to his customer, "This is the dumbest kid in the world. Watch while I prove it to you." The barber puts a dollar bill in one hand and 2 quarters in the other, then calls the boy over and asks, "Which do you want, son?" The boy takes the quarters and leaves. "What did I tell you?" said the barber. "That kid never learns." Later, when the customer leaves, he sees the same young boy coming out of the ice cream parlor. "Hey, son. May I ask you a question? Why did you take the quarters instead of the dollar bill?" The boy licked his cone and replied, "Because the day I take the dollar the game is over." Donation. Putin is held hostage by a terrorist. A Russian truck driver stops at the back of a long queue on the motorway. He sees a policeman walking down the line of stopped cars to briefly talk to the drivers. As the policeman approaches the truck driver rolls down his window and asks, "What's going on?" "Policeman, a terrorist is holding Putin hostage in a car. He's demanding 10 million rubles, or he'll douse Putin in petrol and set him on fire. So we're asking drivers for donations." Driver, "Oh, okay. How much do people donate on average?" Policeman, "About a gallon." Driving the cab after retiring from funeral services. A taxi passenger tapped the driver on the shoulder to ask him a question. The driver screamed, lost control of the car, nearly hit a bus, went up on the footpath, and stopped inches from a shop window. For a second, everything was quiet in the cab. Then the driver said, "Look, mate, don't ever do that again. You scared the living daylights out of me." The passenger apologized and said, "I didn't realize that a little tap would scare you so much." The driver replied, "Sorry, it's not really your fault. Today is my first day as a cab driver. I've been driving a funeral van for the last 25 years. I was not married before." Tim decided to tie the knot with his longtime girlfriend. One evening, after the honeymoon, he was organizing his golfing equipment. His wife was standing nearby watching him. After a long period of silence, she finally speaks. "Tim, I've been thinking, now that we're married, maybe it's time you quit golfing. You spend so much time on the course. You could probably get a good price for your clubs." Tim gets this horrified look on his face. She says, "Darling, what's wrong? For a minute there you were beginning to sound like my ex-wife." "Ex-wife," she screams, "I didn't know you were married before." "I wasn't," he replied. "Give me the drink before trouble starts." A Navy man walks into a bar, gives the bartender a conspiratorial wink, and says, "Quick, pour me a drink, before the trouble starts." The bartender pours a drink and watches as the sailor downs it in one gulp. The sailor slams the glass down on the bar and says, "Quick, give me another one before the trouble starts." The bartender pours another glass and the sailor drinks it as quickly as he had the first. The sailor pauses, lets out a belch, and demands a third drink before the trouble starts. After several rounds of this, the bartender says, "Look, sailor, you've been talking about trouble for 10 minutes. Just when is this trouble going to start?" The sailor looks at the bartender and grins. "The trouble starts just as soon as you figure out that I don't have any money." Man with penguins in the back of a truck. A man was driving down the road when a policeman stopped him. The officer looked in the back of the man's truck and said, "Why are these penguins in your truck?" The man replied, "These are my penguins. They belong to me." "You need to take them to the zoo," the policeman said. The next day, the officer saw the same guy driving down the road. He pulled him over again. He saw the penguins were still in the truck, but they were wearing sunglasses this time. "I thought I told you to take these penguins to the zoo," the officer said. "I did," the man replied. "And today I'm taking them to the beach." For men in hospital waiting room. Four men are in the hospital waiting room because their wives are having babies. A nurse goes up to the first guy and says, "Congratulations. You're the father of twins." "That's odd," answers the man. "I work for the Minnesota Twins." A nurse says to the second guy, "Congratulations. You're the father of triplets." "That's weird," answers the second man. "I work for the 3M company." A nurse tells the third man, "Congratulations. You're the father of quadruplets." "That's strange," he answers. "I work for the Four Seasons Hotel." The last man is groaning and banging his head against the wall. "What's wrong?" the others ask. "I work for 7-Up. Good news and bad news. A New York attorney representing a wealthy art collector called his client and said to him, "Saul, I have some good news and I have some bad news." The art collector replied, "I've had an awful day, let's hear the good news first." The attorney said, "Well, I met with your wife today, and she informed me that she invested $5,000 in 2 pictures that she thinks will bring a minimum of $15 to $20 million. I think she could be right." Saul replied enthusiastically, "Well done. My wife is a brilliant businesswoman. You've just made my day. Now I know I can handle the bad news." "What is it?" The attorney replied, "The pictures are of you with your secretary." Lonely man and his 2 friends stranded on an island. 3 friends stranded on a deserted island find a magic lamp. Inside it is a genie who agrees to grant each friend one wish. "I want to go home," says the first friend. The genie grants her wish. "I want to go home, too," says the second friend. And the genie sends him back home. "I'm lonely," says the third friend. "I sure wish my friends were back here." The scarecrow in the field. 2 crows were in a field when they noticed a figure that looked like a man in the distance. "See that over there?" "What is that?" says the first crow. The second crow takes a long look. "That's a scarecrow." "Looks authentic, doesn't it?" "How can you tell it's a scarecrow and not a person?" replies the first crow. Look at its hand. No cell phone, says the second crow. Strange answer. A fellow was walking along a country road when he came upon a farmer working in his field. The man called out to the farmer, "How long will it take me to get to the next town?" The farmer didn't answer. The guy waited a bit and then started walking again. After the man had gone about 100 yards, the farmer yelled out, "About 20 minutes. Thank you. But why didn't you tell me that when I asked you? Didn't know how fast you could walk." Long queue to get out? Donald Trump was walking through Manhattan and saw a long queue. Wondering what his was for, he joined it. People would look over their shoulder, see that his was Donald Trump behind them, and leave the queue, so he would proceed closer and closer to the front. As he was getting closer to the head of the queue, he asked one guy, who also looked and was about to walk away, "Wait a second, what is this queue for and why are you now leaving it?" The man said, "This is the queue for Canadian immigration visas, but if you are getting one, I don't need one now."